and welcome. You're tuning in to Unbreakable Hope with me, your host, Jessica Rose. This podcast is all about seeking the light. In each episode, we chat with someone who has either overcome the darkness or who is actively spreading light within their own community. So let's jump into today's episode. Today's special guest is Libby, and Libby is sharing her story of her and her husband, Corey. Libby lost her husband, Corey, to suicide. And yes, this episode is going to talk a bit about suicide, but we're also going to be talking about how you can help. How you can help just be there for people and open up conversations. We talk a lot about grief today as well, and just a lot of the misconceptions. So please stick with us as we talk about a heavy topic, but one that is necessary for all of us. We've all lost somebody or we will lose somebody. So jump into this episode with me and the lovely Libby as she helps advocate for a better world for everybody. Thank you so much for being here today. I'm really excited to hear more about your story.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm glad to be here.
So I'm going to pass it to you, let you tell our audience a little bit more about yourself, and we'll dive in deeper into why you're here and the life that you've had to live.
All right. Um, life has taken a little detour, different than I would have seen. It has been on the 14th, August 14th. It was 10 months since I lost my husband and my kids lost their dad. Um, we were married almost 21 years. And he was in the army. And this was when 9/11 happened. And so was the beginning of the war, the Iraq-Afghanistan wars. And he was sent to the initial invasion, so Operation Iraqi Freedom, and was over there and served his tour, came home, seemed fine-ish, right? They go through a lot, and I think it takes a second sometimes to realize what they've gone through and the effects that it's had on their life. So there would be little things that would happen here and there that would make us, like extended family would think, oh, something's kind of off, there's probably a little PTSD there. He was always so much fun, loved to be the life of the party, loved to help others and serve. And that kind of switched a little bit. He saw a different side of the world, and I think it just changed something in him. So the first 10 years of our marriage were fairly well. There was little things here and there and little signs of PTSD. And then the second half, it was like a flip switched. And everything he had been suppressing and holding down for so long just exploded. And it was really hard to get a hold of. So over the next 10 or so years, he tried to address his PTSD in several different capacities, different programs, different medicines, different therapists, trying the VA, trying private. And there would be stints that were better, that felt more hopeful. And then this past October, it had just gotten really bad. And so he took his life. So that's just shifted our whole life in a way I would have never seen coming.
And to have been living with him, trying to grow through this for all those years, it's just the weight of it all, right? I said to him before
Yeah.
we started trying to even imagine what it would feel like. And I can't. And honestly, I'll say this from finding you on, I think we first connected on Instagram and following you and seeing all of your posts. I would have never guessed that. I say, for me, I can say it's only been 10 months, but I'm sure for you, it feels like a whole nother lifetime.
It does. Like time has become a very strange concept. you know? Sometimes it feels like it was just yesterday, and sometimes it feels like it's been years. There's so much that has gone on in those 10 months that it's just a strange concept. I don't know how else to say it, you know?
Yeah, I definitely experienced that with my husband's care. We're in and out of the hospital a lot, and sometimes I relate things where it's in relation to where he was for his biggest dips, right? Or his biggest
Yeah.
rises. I can think of, oh, like, okay, well, that was this year because that's the year we lived in the hospital for 5 months, or that was this month because that's the month he lost his ability to talk. And it's weird because,
Yeah.
especially when we were in the hospital for 5 months, I missed my favorite time of year, which was summer. But
Oh, yes, I'm with you.
I was so confused. I feel like that was over 2 years ago, and I'm still like, what season are we? I feel like I missed half a year and I don't really know
Yeah.
how to catch up. And I
Yeah.
remember you've you've had this life that you lived for, you said you were together for 21 years,
Hmm.
and then it changed in a drastic instant, and now you're in this whole other life that same thing. It's like you're almost like floating in space where time hasn't really caught up to the major life event that has happened to you and to your children.
It is. It's really interesting. Because yeah, it changed in a matter of seconds, right? And I catch myself talking if I'm trying to explain something and I say, a year ago this happened. In my mind, the year ago was from when he died. It's like nothing moved forward in my mind, right? Because life was so different. But really, that means it was 2 years ago almost now, if that makes sense. So
Yeah.
it's just even the way I catch myself talking, it's like, wait, that's not right. So it's almost like time kind of stopped, but the rest of the world is going on,
Mhm.
you know?
Yeah, I remember the the best advice that has really stuck with me when it comes to trying to take care of someone who lost someone, and I would love your feedback on this too. It was actually a woman who had lost her son to suicide.
Hmm.
She told me that when he died, it was almost like every moment was kind of slow-mo, and she didn't understand how to move in each moment. And people would tell her, if you need anything, call me. And she said she would think about it and she's like, how can I call you when I'm sitting on the couch? Like she couldn't conceptualize doing two things at once. And it
Hmm.
just seemed to move slowly. Then she had gone on to give me advice on her, I believe it was her sister later lost her son early. And she thought instantly, she said, okay, well, I remember this, that, yeah, like we're saying, that time and space, like not being able to
Yeah,
really function within the space and time you're given, trying to process this
yeah,
tragedy. She just says, like, this is my thing that I just do. So anytime I have somebody who's lost somebody, this is what I do. And that really just stuck with me. But
that's
I
great.
think
Yeah,
there's this misconception, and I'm sure you heard it all the time, good intended. So I say this like out of love. When
yeah,
somebody says, let me know if you need something, for me, it's like, okay, let me put that on my to-do list to reach out to you when I need something.
yes, yes. Which I get. It is, there are great intentions behind it. But for me, I needed someone to be like, I'm doing this, or I'm coming to take your kids. Dinner will be delivered, things like that. I didn't even know what my needs are. Sometimes I still don't. I'm like, I don't know what I need, but I know this isn't feeling right.
Yes.
What do you see that needs to be done in my life? You know?
I like to say initiative is not intrusive. My parents,
Yeah.
they are amazing. I am blessed beyond my years with just how loving and dedicated my parents are. But even my mom was really hesitant because she was like, "Well, I don't want to overstep my bounds, or I don't want to do something and be mad about it." So trying to tell her, who's very cautious of this because of experiences in life, I'm like,
Yeah.
initiative isn't intrusive. I have a friend right now. Oh my God, like Lord bless her. She'll come over and she's like, "Hey, I'm gonna mow your grass today. Hope you don't care." And then I kind of feel bad because I was like, well, I was gonna get around to it one day. And she's like, yeah, well, I'm not doing anything. I'm gonna go ahead and mow it today. But that just was so much off my plate.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
amazing. And I love what you said too. Like sometimes I don't even know what I need. I'm just
Yes.
trying to maintain the chaos that's inside and not let
Yes. 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 And for me, if you see a need, just do it.
Yes. Yes.
Right? Like your lawn that needs mowed. If you see it's done, just do it. And there is a little bit of guilt that sometimes comes with that. But in the beginning of all this, I had to let go of that so quick. I knew I needed so much help, and there was just no way I could do it by myself.
Oh yeah. And you have kids in the picture. So for me, my family dynamics was a little different. My stepson is almost 20 years old, but he does still have a mother in the picture. Now, he was with us a good chunk of the time. So
Yeah.
we had kind of like this 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off type thing.
Yeah.
But he ended up staying with us, not
Wow.
rotating back to his mom a lot. And that was something where I'm like, okay, well, I kind of have another person that can kind of sort of help here, but then navigating it. And luckily he was older
Yeah.
as things started to get worse. He had a car. He could drive himself to school.
Yes, right.
So,
Yeah. Little things like that.
yeah.
And with that, it is helpful. So mine are 19, 17, 14, and 12. Um, and so they are a good bit older. So it is helpful that they can do some of those things by themselves. But then that was almost another place of guilt that would fall in. Like, you're still a kid, though. And although you can do it by yourself, I would feel guilt that you were having to do it by yourself, if that makes sense, right? You should still be able to be a child and not carry this. So it gets tricky, gets complicated.
And then thinking about how much the weight is on you to do the simple things. I mean, we talk about this when it comes to just general depression, right? Is
Yeah,
one of the hardest things to do is the first step, getting out of bed, right? Then like the
yeah,
second hardest thing to do, which often gets missed, is taking a shower. But those they just like to feel the weight of the world. And I think
yeah,
sometimes too is generally speaking, is that a lot of people don't think how much that weight is also carried by our youth as well.
yeah,
And of
yeah.
course, we all cope differently too, and we have different relationships, but being the primary person that everything falls on your shoulders,
Hmm.
you are now the one taking care of the entire household while also having to grieve the life of your husband and the life
Yeah.
of your future self, right? That's a
Yes, like what would have been, what could have been. Yeah,
yeah. Is
yeah.
there anything that you've found over this time, maybe to be more helpful for you personally,
Uh-huh.
to work through these grief cycles? Because obviously, like it doesn't end, right?
It doesn't end, and they come up sometimes when you least expect it, or and I feel it won't ever stop, right? I have 4 kids that now every single time something happens major in their life, they don't have their dad, you know? So the next one thing that keeps popping in my mind is when my second son, he's a senior, and he'll graduate. And I'm like, my oldest son had the whole family there when he graduated, and now there's this big hole. And so things like that are going to constantly come up. Weddings, big major events in life are never going to stop. And so that grief is going to always be there, but I think it's learning to carry it differently,
Mhm.
so that it doesn't always feel as heavy. So for me, therapy helps. And I think there's lots of different kinds of therapy. Not the same thing works for everyone, and that's okay. It doesn't have to all look the same, you know, and giving yourself grace, you know. Um, there's just no right or wrong way to do it.
Yeah, I love that you're saying that therapy, there's so many different ones. I like to compare them to orthopedic surgeons, right?
Yeah.
It's that, you may have a shoulder injury, but just because you go to an orthopedic surgeon doesn't mean they specialize in shoulder surgeries.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's just like that with grief too. I had a counselor who I'd actually I tried one of the apps and I thought, okay, this will be good. It'll be a lot more easier to schedule and convenient and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And they paired me with somebody who I thought, ooh, she's going to get me. She's going to understand me. She's a caregiver. She has a child with similar symptoms, shall we say.
Yeah.
but then I felt like I got into a session with somebody who didn't understand, which kind of blew my mind. I guess my expectations were really high, right?
Yeah.
Is I get this all the time from people is, well, why don't you just put your husband in a facility? Because I like my husband alive. That's
Yeah,
um,
right.
but that was her whole focus was, so why isn't he in a facility? Why don't you put him in a facility? Your life would get better if you put him in a facility. And then I realized this this person just isn't right for me.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to turn around as much as I want to be like, why isn't your child in a facility? You
Right,
know,
right.
like,
Yeah.
but just recognizing that and being like, okay, well, this isn't the right person.
Yes, yes. Because I think, and that's how my husband was. It took a lot for him to find the right therapist for him. And that's okay too.
Yeah.
Just because you're going to one therapist doesn't mean that's the right therapist. So
Mhm.
that's great for you to acknowledge that, you know?
And that's
It's a
hard
big
for
step.
anyone because sometimes, right, like you finally get that energy, right, to put your foot out of bed, maybe or maybe not take a shower, and then
Yeah.
seek out help. And then the help that
Yeah.
you seek out may not be the right help, which is kind of
Yeah.
discouraging at times for people to keep wanting to continue. But you also said another great thing is give yourself grace, because that's
Yeah.
something that I think in general, we don't give ourselves enough grace. We're
Yeah.
our worst critic, and especially when you're having to care for others going through this as well,
Yeah.
right? You're putting all the weight on your shoulders that it's already on your shoulders, that is already
Yes.
too much for one person to carry.
Yes. Yeah. And I think that's a hard concept to remember sometimes. I know people tell me all the time still, just give yourself some grace. There's a lot going on. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
and it's good to be around people like that too, and
Yeah.
having those open dialects with your support system. I think
Yeah.
it's huge because we can be going through tough times. Oh, shoot, recently I went on a trip with one of my best friends, and she looked at me, and it kind of broke my heart a little bit. But she said, "Are you even having any fun?"
I know,
Now, to
right?
preference this, we were literally actively sitting in a hot tub.
Yeah.
Like, who's not having fun in a hot tub? But
Yeah, right.
I thought, and I was like, well, yeah, it's like middle of our trip. I'm like, yeah, it's been a lot of fun. I instantly thought, oh my gosh, I like, right. So the brain's like, tick, 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 I'm like, I'm not showing that I'm having fun and that this is relieving my
Yeah.
stress at home. But at the same time, I had a lot of issues going on at home
Yeah.
with,
Yes.
so it's always balancing. I tell people as a caregiver, I don't get to turn that off 24, like I'm on
Nope.
24/7. So if a caregiver
Yes.
doesn't show up, if my husband's going to the hospital, whether I'm in town or not,
Yeah. It's
it's
there.
it's still
It's
there.
there. And I think that's so true. It's things just show up differently now. Um, in the beginning, I felt like the way I described it is like there was this like hovering like cloud, I guess, of just grief,
Yeah.
whatever that looked like that moment or that day. And I remember thinking, get used to that because it will always be there.
Mm,
So even if you're having fun, or I'm with my kids, or I took them on a trip at the end of the school year, and you try to make it the best you can, but that's always just hovering right there,
mm.
you know?
Yeah. I if other people are not imagining, the cartoon character that has a crowd that's like raining no matter where they go. I can't,
Yes.
but that's I yes, I can 100%. I feel that. And for me, like my husband's still alive, but those grief cycles still come up and the guilt still comes up because now he's in a wheelchair. So here I am.
Yeah.
I'm having a trip with some of our mutual friends that he's not able to go on because we're doing things like hiking and rafting and zip lining and things that he
Yeah.
is physically not able to do, whether he wants to or not. We'll make that another note, okay? Because
Yeah.
sometimes he wouldn't want to do those
Do
things
it anyway,
anyway. But now
right?
he's got the biggest FOMO. I
Yes, right?
Yeah, I can't tell.
Yeah.
Him or the dog. One of they both have extreme FOMO.
Oh,
Um, but also battling that guilt. That was something that I struggled with the most was being happy and doing things for myself,
yes.
even through the tragedy and
Yes.
grief.
It's so hard. I remember friends saying, "We need to go have a girls' night and get you out." And I'm like, "But I don't like why?
Mhm.
I shouldn't do anything. I shouldn't feel happy. This, it feels wrong, but I think we all deserve happiness." And it's just learning to carry that grief differently and allowing it to show up when it shows up too. I do feel, and something I've said from the beginning, is the only way through all this is to face it head on. If we're ignoring it and pretending like it's not happening, which is what my husband did,
Mm.
in the long run, that doesn't work very well.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Stuffing it down, stuffing it down, stuffing it down.
yeah,
And I think that both of those things I think tie into we don't talk enough about the important things.
yeah,
Is that things like grief, people don't want to talk about it. It makes people uncomfortable. Talking
yeah,
about death, oh, that
yeah,
makes people uncomfortable.
yeah,
The amount of times I've just come out and said, "Oh yeah, 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 my husband's got brain cancer," right? I'm like, "That's my life." People are like, "Oh my God." And I feel like
right?
I'm then have to like hug strangers and reassure
And
them.
comfort them, right?
I've made friends cry and I'm just like, oh my gosh, sorry, this is just like my life, I just,
Yes. And so sometimes you don't realize what, yeah, yeah, for sure.
but that's how like little we talk about things. We're not, we're too afraid as a society, not as
Yes.
individuals, because you are very outspoken and I love that so much because it's got to be so hard, but at the same time, like you are continuing to advocate for everyone else out there and build a legacy that your husband's not here to build himself, so you're building it for him
Yeah.
and being able to say, hey, we need to talk about grief. We need to talk about
Yeah.
suicide and our mental health. And we need to be more open about these conversations. And I think for people listening, the biggest thing is maybe they haven't experienced these, but if they too could be open to talking about them, it could help people like you and I not feel so
Yeah.
heavy burden and not feel so in the dark when things do happen.
Yeah. I agree. I definitely agree. For me, it gives me purpose.
Mm.
Like I went through all this and it was the most painful thing I've ever experienced in my life. Um, I just can't sit back. And so it gives me purpose to feel that maybe, hopefully, I'm helping someone, you know,
Yeah.
whatever that looks like.
I
Yeah.
definitely at first I didn't want to share so much about my caregiver journey and the complications I have and barriers that I have and stuff
Yeah.
because that wasn't, that's not what I did professionally. That's not what my business is about, right? Like
Yeah.
I I do behavioral health stuff, but over time I'm like, well, it kind of all merges together.
Yeah.
And if I'm not being open and talking about that as well as things like suicide and overdose, then I'm actually not living in my truth of talk about the darkness, talk about the things so people don't feel so alone when the things
Yeah.
happen.
Because there are so many things to
Oh,
be discussed.
yeah,
Yeah.
yes. And healthcare in general, you had mentioned before that your husband had got care both in the VA and outside the VA. I think there's this big stigma and misunderstanding, and maybe your experience is different, so
Uh-huh.
I welcome if you want to talk about it.
Yeah.
But for my personal experience, I don't get my personal health care at the VA. Well, my husband doesn't either because they don't have his specialties. However, of some of the care that him and I have gotten, there's been great experiences, but we've also had really terrible experiences outside the
Yeah.
VA. So people like
Yeah.
to say like, oh, the VA is this like horrible monster and everything is god awful and terrible. And I'm like, well, my opinion is all healthcare systems.
Oh, for sure. Healthcare in general is just a mess. Um, yeah, I don't care so much for the VA. We've had some pretty awful experiences from the very beginning. That's not to say there's not some good doctors there. And I do think Corey had some that he liked more than others for sure, but they rotate in and out so quickly that it was like every 9 or 10 months, he was getting a new doctor, you know? And then with that, I feel the doctor is not as invested in the patient, right?
Mhm.
So they're like, oh, you want to manipulate me a little bit? Whatever. I'm leaving. I'll give you what you want. I'm not going to be here long. Type it. That's what I felt like was going on a lot.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah,
Yeah,
it's
I see that
healthcare in
with the
general.
VA. Yeah. Health, healthcare in general has so many issues. The VA specifically, you bring up a great point, and even my mother experiences this, is that they're a teaching hospital. So it's government funded, government ran. They don't have the kind of money like most
Yeah.
private hospitals have. So when you finally make a connection with a doctor who understands you, and then just like you said, they rotate out, then you as the patient, you're starting over again.
Yeah.
Or if you do have a conflict, because like my favorite flavor of ice cream is chocolate chip cookie dough, and I've gotten a couple mint chocolate chip doctors, and I don't want to
Yeah,
deal with
right,
them.
right.
Okay. So
Yeah.
when it does come up that, and I'm like, hey, I just don't like my doctor, they're not a good fit. Can I change? Then it's like, whoa, 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 why? I'm like, well,
Yeah.
I could tell you why, but then, it's not a fireable offense. It's I did not have a good experience personally with them. I didn't feel like we connected. I don't feel like they understood me. Can I
Yeah.
just get another doctor? And then it's like this whole thing to do.
Yes, because Corey went through that also at times, and it shouldn't be that way. Because if you were in the private sector, you would be like, okay, I'm going to find another physician or whatever, or another surgeon, you know?
Yep.
You don't have to get stuck right there.
Mhm.
But yeah, that's not how the VA works.
Yeah. And that is something that I've been able to do with my husband's healthcare. So we're very blessed. Yes, we have VA healthcare. We also have TRICARE, which not all veterans have that flexibility and have that option, and they have to rely on
Right.
community care, which that would probably be a whole hour long conversation as it is.
Yes, yes.
But through TRICARE, luckily,
Yeah.
I took my husband to a specialist, and I get this a lot with his care. And the specialist basically, if he was anybody else, AKA if he didn't have brain cancer and wasn't in a wheelchair, he would have done this, 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 and that. But because my husband has brain cancer, that's normally the why bother? I'm like, because my husband's still
Oh,
alive.
yeah.
So, once I got that feel from that doctor, I was like, okay, okay,
Yeah.
we're a short appointment here. Okay, you're not going to do the things. Okay, that's
We're
fine.
moving
So
on.
I called and I said, okay, I want to be assigned another doctor. And that
Yeah.
hospital system said, oh, well, the doctors are assigned based on the condition. I said, oh my God, that's so great. What condition was my husband diagnosed with? Because that's what we're trying to figure out.
Yeah.
Couldn't tell me. And then they're saying, well, that's your guy here. I said, okay, well, not anymore.
Yeah.
So I went to a completely different healthcare system. And
Yeah.
wonderful care. And that doctor's like, you're right. He's a human. If he's in pain, if he's having this problem and he wants,
Yes.
let's do it.
Oh, good. Yeah. Yeah.
But at the same time, that's more energy, right? And
Yes.
sometimes all
Yes.
people have the energy for is to get to the first doctor.
Yes. And you shouldn't have to fight for that.
Mhm.
And that's how it was along the journey with Corey sometimes. I could see what was going on, and he either didn't want to admit what was going on or didn't want to see what was going on. So I was having to put forth energy to fight this battle with the doctors and with like it gets messy.
Yeah. And then a lot
Yeah.
of the times you probably found your role as the spouse, you're being supportive, you want what's better for him, right? You can see that there's a problem, whether he's admitting it, speaking it or not. But then there's this, well, how do you address it as just being the spouse?
Yes. Yes. And for it to come off loving and not controlling or, you know, yeah, it's a challenge. Yeah.
The big thing that's helped me kind of get out of that, oh, that's just the spouse, is, well, my husband can't talk. So
There you go. There you go.
so I still get that when people call, they're trying to get my husband, and I'm like, I'll say something depending on my mood. I'm like, this is
Yeah.
his keeper, or yes, I control his schedule, or
Yes,
I'm his
right.
translator. It's not like I do
Because
all
yeah,
the things for him.
yeah, if you're the wife, you're just the wife. Yeah.
Yes. But now I have a legal
Title.
adjustment, because it's like, well, yeah, my husband's nonverbal. Like you legally have to come through me to get to him.
Yeah.
Um, but when you don't have that, that's where it gets really hard because there's so many roadblocks. And whether you're the next of kin or the power of attorney or whatnot, there's still roadblocks to trying to be
Yeah.
advocate for somebody else's care. And
Yeah.
you're seeing injustice, being able to report that is also very frustrating too, because every system's different and systems are not very clear on that.
No. And I think they do that for a reason, on purpose, you know? Yeah, I know sometimes I would call therapists or doctors or whatever and leave messages or just speak to them directly. I know you can't tell me anything, but I'm going to tell you what I'm seeing or what's going on over here. And then hopefully you take that into consideration when you think of his treatment, you know? It's hard. They just don't they don't want everyone involved,
Yeah. That's
you
my
know?
biggest gripe with behavioral health. Now, I guess like kind of a side note here, right, is if people are working in healthcare, I'm not saying you're horrible people. Systems. I
Yes.
systems
Yes.
kill people, not the people trying to work within the systems.
Yes. So actually, Corey, so in the military, he was a gunner. He had the 50 cal up on top of a Humvee. But then when he got out, he went to school to be a registered nurse. So he was in the healthcare system and saw how messed up the healthcare system is. So I think you're making a great point. It's the system of it, not the individuals who are trying to make a difference. Yeah.
Yeah, I felt like we both felt that way, but I almost felt like a need to make sure
No,
you
I think that's
understood.
great. Yeah, because not everyone does
Yeah,
see it that way.
yeah.
Yeah,
And
that's great.
I have seen way too many things.
I'm sure you have.
Things. Um, but just the fight, like you said, we shouldn't have to fight every day to try and get what's best for ourselves or for our
Yeah.
loved ones to be able to get the care that they need. And working with inside these broken systems is hard, but behavioral health is, in my opinion and my experience working in behavioral health for over a decade now,
Yeah.
is the worst because they will slap HIPAA all over the place. But it's funny because someone will go inpatient and they will be set in this perfect little bubble where all of their stressors and problems are outside the walls. And they're introduced to all these different amazing coping skills, such as I'm using an example without giving too many details of the person.
Okay.
Dragon boating. They got introduced to dragon boating. They were not they went to inpatient outside of my state. So then that perfect bubble, everything's better. They're better. They have all these coping skills, support systems like the dragon boating team. They're ready to go back to the chaos that they came from. But you know what the behavioral health system did not do? Include the family members that the person lived with or connect them to the dragon boating program that we have here in Oklahoma to continue said things that were working in the perfectly safe bubble. So guess what happened after a few months of being home in the chaos with a support system that didn't know what to do and how to support them
You go
and
right back.
outside work. Yeah. Like,
Oh, I could go on about this. And
yes.
so this is what would happen because, I mean, obviously, Corey didn't get the way he was and make that decision overnight. Like this has been building up, right? He has um, threatened this so many times. And he's been in these facilities where I'm sure, are you familiar with the 1013?
Mhm.
Yeah, so when you're involuntarily put into the hospital. So he'd be, 1013, and then he'd go into a facility for like 7 to 10 days in this perfect bubble, get him on all these medicines. He's kind of drugged up a little bit, but he's going to groups and talking to the doctor. I have nothing to do with this. They don't call me unless it's like a question on like insurance or where he's going to go next or whatever. Yes, right? And then they just drop him back. Okay, he's ready to go home. Can you come pick him up? And I'm like, all you did was sedate him or open a few wounds or whatever. And now you're going to send him back with no real coping skills. Like you had him for the max 10 days. Like
Mhm.
you did not solve anything or even begin to solve anything.
And
Yeah.
you not prepare the family.
No,
So how
no.
what justice are we actually doing for people other than just sucking money from insurance companies or from families who
Yes.
don't even have money that are having to pay for a service that is not longevity, not helping them long
Yeah.
term?
In the long term. Yeah. 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 And I mean, it maybe gave me like a couple days to breathe and be like, okay, let's catch a breath here, see what we need to do next, and not have to focus so much energy on him.
Hmm.
But long term, no, you did nothing but almost make it worse,
Yeah.
you know?
And when people are thinking about suicide, they're not thinking about ending pain. They're thinking about ending the pain. They're not thinking of hurting themselves. They're wanting to end this hurt that is reoccurring
Yes.
and reoccurring and sometimes chronic, like in your husband's case, very chronic pain that he
Yes.
wasn't able to resolve. So yeah, 7 to
Yes.
10 days, like, slap the baby on the butt, send him home. Like
Yes.
this is chronic,
Yeah.
excruciating pain for this person.
Yes. And you're right. That's exactly what it is. It's not about wanting to die. It's about wanting to get rid of the pain, wanting that pain to stop. And that's the only option they can think of to make it stop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I teach a suicide intervention course, and a lot of what we hear is people want to use families as the life connector, but sometimes families is also their focus, but their focus is, I'm in so much pain, I'm holding them back, I'm holding them down. They would be better off without
Without
me.
me.
And that's so heartbreaking on so many different levels
Hmm.
that, like, that's how they feel and that's the view of the family. But I mean, that's also one of those, like, that's a deep love as well. So trying to,
Yeah, I think it's a hard one to navigate also because as the family and the spouse and even like Corey's siblings, it is very emotionally and mentally draining. And although I think it's important that we're all on the same page and that we are all aware of the care plan and all participate in our different ways, there is rest that is needed
mm,
by people involved. You know what I mean? And so it is nice to have a connection outside of the family as well, so that, one person's not carrying all the weight.
yeah. Because that's something too, is like all of you are still going in it every single day.
Yeah. And I know for me, it was hard because I felt like I had to protect Corey almost and not let people always know what was going on so that he wouldn't get embarrassed or different things. And so in hindsight, I wish I had been more open so that I could get the help that I needed so I could help him. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, like people to help shift that weight a little bit.
Mhm. That's a really good point, that wanting to respect his privacy and his opinion, but also knowing, like, you were going through it. My son had said the same thing at one point. He said, "Well, I don't want to tell people because it's not my story to tell." I said, "It is your story.
Yeah,
You're involved in this too. You're
yeah,
just as much a part of this. The brain cancer has affected you. It's not in your brain, but it's still affecting your body and your
yeah,
ability to live and move forward."
yeah. And I think it took me a long time to realize that too. Like this is all of us right here. Yeah, we're a whole unit and it's affecting all of us.
And maybe that's a great takeaway for people too, is hearing that if they've been through similar situations, is that it's okay to talk about it, because it is. It's because then what is it for us? Then it's more that we're putting in our heavy pack, and or that we're bottling up and trying to
Yes.
bury in the backyard that can
Yeah,
only fit so much.
yeah, yeah. And I think there is a time and a place and certain people that can handle certain things.
Yes.
Um, but I think it's worth figuring out because we all need each other,
Hmm.
you know?
Exactly. Like we have to be able to survive off of
Yeah,
supports, off of community. That's how we grow.
yeah,
And that's something that I've had to learn through this time too. And I've caught myself many of times where I'm stressed out, I'm overwhelmed, I got all these things going on, and it's heavy stuff a lot, right?
yeah.
Heavy
Hmm.
thoughts. And I'm like, okay, well, here's my top 5 people. Oh, well, I just called her about this really big thing, and I just called her about this really big thing. And then it was like, I don't want to be that person that every time I call, I'm dumping on my friends and they're not dumping back on me. And I would try and tell them too, I was like, please dump on me as well. It makes me
Yes,
feel better,
right,
you know?
right. I remember in the beginning of all this, when I would see friends and they would slowly start to like say things to me, they'd be like, "Oh, I'm really sorry. I just talked about myself and we didn't talk about you." And I was like, "Please, can we talk about you?
Yes.
Like, I'm done here. Like, I don't want any more attention on me." So I can't even tell you how many people have said that to me.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, 100%. I remember there was a day it's one of our many times inpatient, and I was leaving the hospital for a couple hours, and I had text one of my friends, and I said, "Hey, my rowing group had just got done rowing, and we used to do this after thing after rowing. People get like hot dogs and beers and hang out and stuff.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm gonna come, but can you please tell everybody not to ask me a damn question?"
Right?
Nothing. I just want to sit there. I want to be around other people. I want to hear what's going on in other people's lives. Like
Yes.
about my own life that's in chaos right now.
Yes.
And it's one of the most memorable nights of the past 5 years of my life, was just being
Yeah.
able to sit there and breathe and take everything else in and not have to exert the energy that I already didn't have.
Yes, because it can be exhausting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's so loving. Like when people ask me, they're like, how's
Yes.
Andrew? And I'm like, I've already answered that question like 10 times today. I hate to,
Yes.
but
Yes.
like, you don't have to ask me every time you see me. It's okay.
Yes.
It's okay.
Can we pretend life is normal for just a second?
Yes. Yes. And I have had to say that a few times to people. It's like, I just, I'm just not really in the mood to talk about it. I'm so sorry. And
Oh
then,
yeah.
okay. And then of course they like panic. They think something's wrong. And I'm like, it's not wrong. I just,
I know. Or they feel guilty
yes,
or
yes. And then here we
yeah.
are again. What are we doing? We're like
Yes.
holding everybody else's weight and caring for everybody else.
Yeah.
And just trying to like breathe through
Yeah.
sadness.
Yeah. It's hard. It's
Yeah.
tricky.
Yeah. Life isn't easy. There's this poster in the Marine Corps where a drill instructor is yelling at a recruit and it says, "We didn't promise you a rose garden." And I kind of laugh and I'm like, life isn't? Or maybe it is because there's the thorns, right? But there's the beautiful rose.
Yeah. You're right. There is
Oh,
beauty mixed amongst all the chaos.
yeah.
And I think that's what we have to do. We have to look for the beauty because if we're always focused on the chaos that is inevitable,
Yeah.
I think it's really easy to just get sucked down into that, you know? And I've definitely had to do that. And I know without my four kids, it would be really hard to find that, but I have to look to them to find hope or to find those joyful moments because they're there. It might be harder to find now, but they're there.
Yeah. I definitely believe that. The darkness will consume you if you let it. But if we seek the light, if we look
Yeah.
for it, and sometimes, I remember when I started my gratitude practice, the whole like 3 things a day.
Yeah. Yeah.
I thought it was gonna be lame because it was gonna be easy. It was hard. I
Yeah.
was kicking my butt for months thinking I got to the end of the day and all I was retaining was all the thorns.
Yeah.
I couldn't talk about one rose petal.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think sometimes that can look, it doesn't have to be like some monumental thing that's positive in your life, you know? Maybe you got both feet on the floor and out of your bed that day and that was good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's me finding something that I had a complete emotional breakdown about losing, and then I'm like, oh, okay, I found it. Life is good again. Like it's
Yeah.
fine. Like,
Yeah.
replacing my phone or my ring or, you know,
Yeah, just the little things.
yeah, it it really is because the little things are what's going to get us through the big things.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Is there anything that maybe we've missed, or you want to make sure that people who are going through something that you went through for the past 21 years, right? Being that supportive spouse, and then even what you've been having to go through is now being a widow and
Yeah.
still moving forward with your life and continuing to help support your kids. Is there something that you'd like to speak out to other people going through those situations?
I would hope that people would not be afraid to reach out for help. There are so many different avenues, so many different people who really do want to help. And I know it can be hard to find them, but whether you're the person who's suffering and, thinking of suicide, or whether you're the family member, you don't have to do this alone. No one has to do this alone. There is help and things can get better. It doesn't mean it's easy, but I thought in those deepest, darkest moments, that the rest of my life would feel like that in that first week. And although those moments are still there, I have learned to find hope and to carry it differently. So don't do it alone. No one has to do it alone.
Yeah, that's it. There's so many options out there to be able to help, and just having the courage, or I like to think we're stronger than we think we are. And we've
Hmm.
had multiple times in our life where we thought we can't make it through that moment, but we
Yeah.
did. So just giving yourself that reminder and push through to try and reach out to one more. Even if again, we talked about this, if you reach out to somebody and that wasn't your right flavor of ice cream,
Yeah, yeah,
we find somebody
yeah,
else. And
yeah,
chances are when you're vulnerable and you're willing to be honest with your support system, they'll be able to do
yeah.
the same with you. And I think that's a huge thing too,
I
is
agree.
letting people help. I mean, think about it when you're able to help someone else, how good you feel about it.
Oh, yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're allowing others to feel good about themselves. Well,
Yeah.
and that's another thing, real quick. When
Yeah.
you say being strong, I would hate that when people are like, you're so strong. I'm like, I don't want to be strong anymore. Like, I'm done. And I don't think you always have to be strong.
Yeah.
When you are struggling, don't feel like you have to be strong, but know that you're not alone. So reach out,
I
you
love
know?
that perspective. Yeah, that's really good.
Yeah.
I have another friend who said that too. She's like, I'm just tired of being strong. And
Yeah.
when I think about it, I think of it as this won't break me, this won't kill me. I can still make it through here. But that great perspective of saying, but it's also okay to be like, I'm done for the day. I'm tapping out.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
not gonna get anything done on my to-do list. I'm
Yeah.
gonna binge watch whatever trashy TV show.
Yes.
I'm
Right.
gonna drink my favorite beverage and stay in my pajamas.
Yeah.
Like,
And that's okay sometimes. But I like how you say strong just kind of can also mean it's not going to break me. I like that perspective.
yeah, that's
So,
that's something that between that and in 2020 before the COVID chaos, uh,
yeah.
there was a lot going on, and people always are like, "Oh, the phrase or the word for the year." Have you ever been one of those like you have a word or a phrase for the year?
Yeah, sometimes. Yeah.
Okay. I always wanted to like I'm gonna be that girl, and then every year I was like it just isn't working out. Well, it just so happened the beginning of that year, all this stuff going on, I was like, I will not be defeated. Like, I
Yeah.
don't care what it
Yeah.
is, I'm not going to be defeated. And there are multiple times that year, unfortunately, where that phrase stuck so much that now that's just like a motto. And here
Yeah, but I
we are,
think
5 years
that's
later,
great.
and I'm like, I won't be defeated.
Yeah.
I may binge watch a whole season of some TV show today, but I'm gonna tackle whatever that thing is because it's
Yes. Yeah.
I'm gonna tackle it tomorrow.
Yeah. And I think that's great. A way to look at things. You will not be defeated. Yeah.
there's there's so many things in life that I think can derail us that are significant to us in that time.
Yeah.
You have something that has derailed your life that will always be there, but
Yeah. Bobby.
is also kind of shaping what you're doing now and being able to help others.
Yeah.
Like I said, from the outside looking in, kind of building this legacy with your husband who's not here anymore, but being able to help others by speaking up about things that we don't talk about.
Yeah.
Um, I really appreciate your time and coming on here. And I want to make sure
Yeah.
that give you some space if there's something that we didn't cover, or if you have some final thoughts you want to leave people with, maybe some, if there's organizations that particularly helped you, or also ways to follow you, I'll make sure to include links in the description
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah. I just stay. It can get better. Don't leave. If you're struggling, stay. Yeah.
I
I'm
think
glad
that
I could be on here today too.
yeah, I'm so lovely to be able to connect and meet with you.
Yeah.
I think those are powerful words for people who think that they're not. I have a close friend of mine who had been thinking about it and said that his wife would truly have a better life without him. And I told him, I said, I really don't think that's the case. And I bet if you were open and honest enough to have that conversation with her, that she would be open and honest enough with you to tell you the same thing. So I
Yeah.
love that you say that is stay, things will get better. People want to help you.
Yeah.
Again, we like helping people. It makes us feel good.
Yes,
Like
it does.
let people help. So
Yeah, exactly.
I appreciate your openness and your
Thanks.
vulnerability and all that you're doing to be able to help
Thank
others out
you.
even through
Yeah.
what you've gone through. So thank you so much for your willingness to come on the
Yeah.
show and share.
Yep. I'm glad I could be here. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, listeners, for tuning in. If you found this episode inspiring, please share it with someone you never know who needs more light in their life. May this serve as a reminder that there's always darkness in the world. Do not let it consume you. Always seek the light. Please take a moment to do the good old subscribe, rate, and review. Your support means so much to me, and it helps me spread more light and love. Until next time, be kind, be loving, be human, and don't ever let anyone steal your hope.